Good morning and happy Saturday. How's everybody doing? Thanks for catching the stream. So, good evening, or yeah. Hi, client friend. So last week we did a bunch of sorting, especially sorting in linear time by doing a counting sort and then a variation on it. And this week I have this problem that sounds pretty simple, but it can be kind of complex. I just want to check that you all can see the screen. 1 second. Yep, looks like it's going well. Okay, yeah, let me know. Ooh, you also have Noobcat's avatar. It's so cute. She does an amazing stream. It's always on Sundays, I think an hour later than this one, starting at noon Eastern time. It's a really cool stream on hardware hacking, and is it double O? Is it Noobcat? Nope. Oh, this is embarrassing. Now I don't know how to spell it. Yeah, I think it's double O and a K. Sorry, Suze, I forgot how to spell your handle, but definitely check her out on Sundays. So anyways, this is the problem for today. Yes, his stream is really amazing, and so are her other talks and her projects on GitHub. Okay, given a string S and an array of words, find the longest word that's a substring of S. So this sounds super simple. I want to clarify by substring, I don't necessarily mean a continuous substring. I just mean the letters are contained in the same order in the larger string S. Or more formally, word W is a subsequence of S if some number of characters, possibly 0, can be deleted from S to form W without reordering the remaining characters. So for example, if S is Applebee and the words are able, ale, apple, bale, and kangaroo, then able would be a subsequence because there's A, B, L, E in here. So is ale, apple, bale is not a subsequence. The letters are in S but not in the correct order, and obviously kangaroo is not a subsequence either. So the longest subsequence would be apple. All right, so this is the kind of problem you might be given in a coding interview at Google, where you do it on the whiteboard or in a Word document on a laptop. And I guess before you start, you would have to ask a few questions, like how many words are there, how long are the substrings, is the question constricted to lowercase letters of the alphabet, or could it be any Unicode character, upper code? Could there be emojis in the strings? How large is the alphabet? And then you would probably discuss a few approaches and implement one of them on the whiteboard or on the computer. So I guess for our case, we can start by making the assumption that we only have the 26 lowercase letters. Do we have to deal with surrogate pairs? What does surrogate mean in this context? Oh, like, no, that's ligatures. What are surrogate pairs? Oh, when like two of them encode one, so you cannot just read the... No, we're not dealing with that kind of stuff. We just deal with A, B, C, and so on. Okay, so assumption, we just go from A to Z. And then there's not really given anything about how long S, that the major string S is, or how many words there are in that dictionary. So what are some ways that we could approach this? Oh no, that's totally fine, client friend. Like, I mean, that's why I'm streaming, so that people can interact. And in fact, if you look at V8, the JavaScript compiler, I remember putting a bunch of code in to deal with these surrogate pairs for the Unicode characters. I think it was charcode add or one of those functions where that gets pretty complicated. But luckily it's all in the JavaScript specification TC39, so you just code down reading what's in the spec. Okay, what's one way to deal with this? So I guess we can just start with the string, const string, and a list of words, and I want those to be in an array. And then the function longest subsequence is a function that needs as the input the initial string and the words, and then it should return true or false. So when we do longest subsequence of s, oh, that doesn't make any sense. This should not return true or false. In our case, it should return apple. So console.log node substring. Okay, great. So we have a function that, given a string and a list of words, it returns the longest subsequence, and it runs correctly. Obviously it doesn't, it only works for Apple, but I wanted to make sure this compiles. So what's another one here? We could run this on, so I want A, P, A, B, L, E, so this last one should print able, but of course it will print apple. Oh, I'm sorry that the stream is stopping. Oh, hi Andy, happy Saturday. Are you ready for the cold on Monday? Yes, this is Visual Studio Code. I pretty much have nothing set up. Let me think, what kind of extensions do I have? So I'm just using the default dark color theme. I had an extension at some point that would do, it would print triple equals nicely, but I'm always too lazy to set stuff up, so I just go with the default. Sorry, that the connection is bad. I don't really have a lot of choice in how I want this to be streamed, since I'm not a partner or anything. Sorry about that. All right, so this one here should print apple, whereas this one here should print Bale, right? B-A-L-E, yep. And they're both printing apple, which of course is wrong. So let's handle this. What are some ideas of how we could check that? So we want the longest word that's a subsequence. On my phone, oh, hi C# Fritz, thanks for watching. I watched your stream the last week, that was really good. This one is much, much smaller, and Node.net, but VS Code. Okay, Fritz is saying, on my phone, the transcoding is available. Transcoding, that means you can like read what I'm saying? I'm not sure I'm following. But so since we want the, oh, you can pick the quality settings. Okay, yeah, maybe that's going to work for you. Maybe you can choose on what quality you want to see it. Problem with coding is if you lower the quality, like I've done this when I've downloaded streams to watch later, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to download it low quality, and I'm like, yeah, I can't read anything. So I can't really make the quality too low. Okay, so since we want the longest word that's a subsequence, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort the words by length. Excuse me, start with the longest one and then check every one if they are a subsequence, and if I find one, then I quit and return that one, because that will be the longest one since I sorted the words first. Okay, so I want to sort A, B. And since I want it in reverse order, I first do the length of the second word and then the other one. All right. What Node versions is out? Let's see, nvm install, is there a new version 10? No, we're on the newest one, okay. And this is Substring. So usually what I would do to make sure that the sorting is correct, I'd do a console log of the words in here. Oh no, sort semantics in JavaScript is different. It doesn't want a Boolean, which would kind of make sense, being like, is it larger than or not, true or false? No, it wants a positive or negative number. Oh. The way I remember is I just remember that usually when I sort, it's A, B goes to A minus B, so A, B, and that goes in from smallest to largest. So I just remember it's like the same letters with a minus in it. So I know if I want from biggest to smallest, I have to do first the second one and then the other one. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, I was saying usually I would just put a console.log, but really I shouldn't be doing that all the time. I should just debug this. Okay, can you still see? We don't need the watches. Oh, I have some old watch stuff in here. That needs to go. Okay, we want a breakpoint right before returning. Okay, do we need a configuration? It's Node, we're running Substring. Okay, that looks good. So let's run that. Well, that didn't work at all. Oh, where did my breakpoint go? All right, so it's breaking here, and now I can look at the sorted words, and they look perfectly sorted, I would say, longest to shortest. Okay, so we don't have to... Yeah, the breakpoint, I set it and then it got deleted again, and now it's there, so we can nicely do that. Thanks, Andy. Okay, thanks C# for explaining what transcoding is. Transcoding is Twitch making your video available in multiple resolutions for folks that have slower connections or smaller displays. Okay, yeah, the predicate for sort should return -1, 0, or 1. Isn't it just a positive or negative number or 0? Does it really need to be? Because mine doesn't return plus or minus ones. It's like some positive or negative number or a 0. Let's check that out. And it's not for keeping a sorting algorithm stable, because it used to be until very recently that Chrome's and Node's JavaScript sort was not a stable sort. That just got changed, I want to say last summer. All right, where's the sorting method explained? Compare function. So it's usually Unicode. If it is supplied, yeah, it's just, it needs to be less than 0, 0, or more than 0. It doesn't need to be plus and minus 1. It can be any positive or negative number. And then if it is 0, then that kind of means it doesn't matter which one comes first or last. Okay, what do I think about writing unit tests ahead of my implementation? Well, it's Saturday and I'm lazy, so that's what I'm thinking. No, that is actually a great point. And I mean, this is a perfect setup for unit testing because the problem is so shortly small scoped. It's one sentence and it even comes with an example. So really, instead of doing a console log of what I get and what I expect, we should turn that into a unit test. Oh, it does really say 1 minus 1? But then you would have to, so here's an example. Yeah, 0 just means to equal. Okay, that was loud. I turned on some notifications for followers, but I don't have my screen open, so I can't even see who followed. So thanks whoever just followed me. I think I'm going to turn this off because that was really loud. Sorry, everybody. I don't think 0, no, 0 just means that they're equal. It doesn't, yeah. Yeah, they can be changed to each other. So according to the ECMAScript, the sort is not a stable sort. So stable sort means you're sorting everything. Obviously, it needs to be sorted, otherwise it wouldn't be a sort. And then stable means that if two elements are equal according to the comparison function, it's up to the sorting algorithm to decide what order they're in. Whereas a stable sort means if A and B are equal and A comes before B, then it's guaranteed that in the result A will also be before B, but not with anything that has a different value compared to them in between to them. Obviously, otherwise it wouldn't be sorted. Yeah, but you return 0 if two elements are equal. So if we look at this here, if we run the debugger again, the second and third entry are equal because they're both 4 letters long, but there's really no guarantee that Abel comes before Baal. That's just, well, now it's not a coincidence anymore because now the node sorting algorithm is stable, but that is not guaranteed by the spec. And it might be that if you run this in a few years or in a different browser, they would still be sorted by length, but not necessarily stable. Yeah, so it's definitely positive and negative and not just ones and zeros, because otherwise you would always have to write this as A minus B. If that is smaller than 0, then you would have to return -1, and otherwise, like, that would just be really annoying and confusing. Okay. No, MDN is just saying, no, this is one example here with 1 and -1. But I think we're getting sidetracked. So this is definitely sorting it correctly, and the comparison function doesn't need to return ones. It can be any positive or negative number for the sort to be correct. And that's why I usually just return the difference of numbers or the length of strings or whatever you want it to be sorted. And then C# for its had this great suggestion that I really should be doing. Then I should write my unit tests first. So let's change these console logs here to nice unit tests. What should we call our test? Thanks for the follow. As I just said before, I can't see who followed, so I will be turning that off the next time I stream. Thanks though. And my plan is to stream most Saturdays unless I'm traveling, starting around 11, and then walking through some problems that you might encounter in a typical coding interview, and like discussing different options and making sure we fully understand the JavaScript syntax, like for the compare function in array prototype, that sort. All right, so this test function, it takes a string and words and expected, and then the result is longest subsequence of string and the words. And if the result is not the same as the expected word, Hope is a strategy on Saturdays. Yeah. So if they're not the same, then result is not equal to expected. And just making sure that we don't miss that, we throw an error here. Okay, obviously, if I write a real project, I use Mocha to have a real test framework, and I put a test in a different file. But for something small like this perfectly works. So now we can run a test on S, words, and apple. And we run test on this here, and we should be getting bail. Let's see. All right, throw new arrow because apple is not equal to bail. Okay, that's exactly what we expected. Before we continue, I want to put a few more things here. So if it was the empty string, the function should return the empty string, even though that's not in the list of words here. What are some other good test cases that we should make sure we have? I'm testing it if I don't have any words. Now if we have S and the whole list of words, then it should be the whole string here. Okay, I think these are some good tests. Oh, and another one. If we have a string in here, but it is nowhere in S, then again, it should return the empty one. So this probably should not always return apple, it should just return nothing. I can stop the debugger here. Hey, packetology. Yes, I have all my config files on GitHub, but really I don't use a lot. What are the things that I do need? In my vimrc, it's really important that JJ is mapped to escape, because then I can just keep my hands on the keyboard, like with the fingers on the keys that have the little dot on them, and I don't always have to like spread my pinky finger for escape. It also looks really funny if I SSH into any machine where I don't have that vimrc, and then anything I type always has a lot of J's in them because I'm trying to escape. Yeah, that's important. And then have a few Git shortcuts, like CO instead of checkout, things like that, just saving a few letters. Oh yeah, now with the touch bar, that's even worse, but even on a regular keyboard, it's very far away. Thanks for the follow, person whose name I can't see because I don't see my Twitch screen. Maybe chat wants to say hi to you because I think they can see your name. This is something I should have tested before the stream, but well, now you have to test it. Sorry, folks. Yeah. Oh, and then what I find really important is, so I have different colors for different machines, so I know where I'm logged into. Like I have red and pink, so I know, oh, careful, this is my desktop, this is my laptop, and so on. And anytime I'm in a Git repository, I see what branch I'm on, and then I see a little star if I changed anything. So I know I have unsaved changes, I know what branch I'm on without always having to run git status. So git s is an alias for status, modified substrings. Add some tests, CI for check-in, and now when I commit that, you see how the little asterisk is going away because I don't have any diffs. All right, so hey, Sing Hintha, thanks for the follow. Sorry, I can't see who follows on the screen, so I'm like 5 minutes late until I say your name. Okay, we got a little bit distracted here. So what we really wanted to do, solve this like simple, straightforward, given a string s and an array of words, find the longest word that's a substring or a subsequence of s. And we sorted the words, and now I wanted to figure out for every word if it is a subsequence of S, and if so, then I want to return. So for every word of words, if is subsequence word comma S. Should I change the order here, since here I have S first as well? What do you think? Return word, and if none of them match, I'm returning the empty string. And oh, that's a good one, client find. At one point, I replaced git commit dash message, so git ci dash m with git cm. Maybe I should do that, because pretty much always I'm adding a message. It's very rare that I straight away have a full commit message. Usually I just do a one-liner message, and then at the end I rebase and I add a full-length message there. All right, so what's missing here is that part, of course, is missing. Well, sometimes I put the message in the long format because I need a header and then I need a bunch of lines of explanations. Okay, so this doesn't work anymore because now we're always returning the empty string. So we just have to figure out this is subsequence, is word a subsequence of S? So what are some ways we could do that? Obviously, we could do S that match the word. Okay, so I have to deal with the auto mod here. Andy, are you a mod? Can you help me moderate stuff? Okay, I'd say change the order. Because it could be read as, ooh, now you are mod. Please moderate. That's what you wanted to do on a Saturday, right? Well, you are right now, because I can type stuff in the chat, like /mod client find, and then you can mod anything you want. All right. So should we change the order here? I'd say change the order because it could be read as S is subsequence of word. But that's also a stretch. You know what? I do want them to be at least consistent. So do always S and then the list of words or the word. I just have to make sure this is correct here. Okay, so if we were looking for a regular substring, we could just use the string match in JavaScript, but that's not quite what we want. Yeah, use the power of the sword wisely, please. But I think what we could do is we could take the word, split it at every character, and then put in the regex matcher for everything. So if we have ABC as a word, I want to turn this into A and then anything, and then B and anything, and then C and anything. and then just do a regular regex match here. So let regular expression equal the empty string for const character of the word. Regex that push. Can I push to a string? Pretty sure I can, right? As dot push. Oh no, why can I not push to a string? Anyone is like banning people left and right. Okay, thank you. Okay, so well then let's push to an array. So I want to push the character and then dot push dot star. And then we don't want to match a word, we now want to match the regex, but not the array, but instead the string. And let's see how that goes. Where's my debugger? Okay, I want to see what that match looks like. Okay, so we're coming in here with Applebee and the word kangaroo. And the match is null. Okay, so this should return false. Wrong play button. Okay, and now we're running this with apple, which is a true subsequence of apple. And we were matching, where is my regex? Here, we were matching this array, which is hard to read, but it's A anything, P anything, and so on. We're matching that, and the match is an array because it found something, so it is a subsequence, so we can return true. Okay, did that too many times. Help. Okay, it's still not quite right. Oh, I see where we went wrong. Okay, so what's going on here? We're throwing an error because our test function fails on able is not equal to bail. And I was expecting this in line 50. So here I was expecting bail, but apparently able is also in here because A, B, L, E is in here as well. So if we get rid of that first A, yep, then everything works. Okay, should we refactor this at all? So I don't like that I'm using an array to push these letters into and then turn it into a string. So what are you folks suggesting? I could concat with plus equals word that split that join. Oh, this is neat. So I'm splitting it and then I'm joining. Oh yeah, duh, that is easy. Like this one here really is just the joiner between the letters, so I could turn this into one line. Now, I'm not using a for loop to be using commonly known code. I just wasn't thinking that I really just want this thing to be the joiner between a splitted string. So let's just do that. So we want to regex that we split it, and then we're joining the result but putting in dot stars everywhere. Oops, that was too many commits. Regex is not defined because this is just word. Yep, thanks, client friend. Okay, cool. So we have a function. Now, of course, the big question is, what's the complexity of this? Would this work if we had lots of words in a really long substring, maybe even more letters than just A to Z? Okay, so first of all, we're sorting the words here. Yeah, I committed twice. I didn't pay attention. So if we do git log, I have twice this initial implementation. So let's add the changes to the last one and then git reset head. So that should get me back to this last commit. And I have my changes here so we can push them onto that last change. So if we do git last dash patch, it's all of the last changes but in one commit. What's the difference with dash dash soft and not using soft in the commit? I know if I do hard, all my changes would have been gone when resetting, but what's the difference between soft and not using that? Okay, so what's the complexity here? We are sorting the words, so that means we use n log n for the number of words. So if we have tons of words, that's a lot of work, but maybe it's fine. I mean, we definitely need to touch every word anyways to make sure we're not missing one. Oh yeah, I love git last. It's a great shortcut. It just shows you the last commit. And the other one I like is git log. Git lg is my shortcut. That just shows me the first line of the commit, and I don't have to look through the date and the committers and all that. .git config. So here is my, here, lg is log dash dash one line, and last is log -1 head. And then this is what I'm using a lot, but sometimes too much, and then I regret it. So I'm committing all the changes, amending to the last change with a dash dash no edit, so I don't have to edit the commit message. Oh, and I can probably delete those here because I don't commit to Chromium much anymore. So those were the CL is changelog. That's the Chromium word for pull request or commit. And always rebase equals true. Yeah, but what does the soft mode mean if I pass that? Oh, isn't it so useful, client friend? Hi, Finn Erickson. Oh, have you used tag templates to call a function? Example is subsequence. I have never done that, but wouldn't that just be a string? How can I use that? Okay, all right, Singing, I have to look up soft later and see if I want to use that more often. I also want to look up that here. Backticks calling a function. Oh yeah, I remember looking at that before. So no, I don't use that a lot. I have to look at this again, I guess. Okay, but it does reset the head to commit just like the other modes. It leaves all your changed files in staging. Oh, but I use staging like my trash can, so it's kind of bad if I have anything in staging. Okay, so we do a sorting of the number of words here, and then we check every single word, and for every word we are doing a regex match, which I guess it's a fairly regular looking regex, so that's probably close to linear. Linear in the number of letters in S. So our overall complexity here, what's the overall complexity? It's something like, let's use W for the number of words. So we are sorting, and then we have N times W number of letters in the big string S. Yes, Andy, you need to. They're really useful. Also, I can't use regular git because I'm using my aliases all the time, but they're really useful. Oh yeah, graph can be useful. Usually I don't find it to be as useful as I want it to be. I really like the graphical output from IntelliJ. Oh, I need to get my charger, 1 second. Streaming takes a lot of battery. Finna, you use GitLens and VS Code. Yeah, that also works. I think at some point I need to update my aliases, or I need to check out some of the VS Code Git tools. The last time I tried GitLens or some other tool, it didn't work as fast for me as using the console. But I also know tools are evolving and Git is evolving, so I need to double check every once in a while what I'm doing. Chris, hello. Chris, you're wrong with the dates. Chris tried to watch this like 2 days ago and he's like, why are you not online? Oh, it's not Saturday. Kristen is joining me on Thursday. So Kristen is my awesome teammate, and on Thursday we'll have a bonus stream where we'll look into some machine learning vision API. So it's one of the challenges that came out of Advent of Code, where you had to look and eyeball your solution for day 10. And Kristen is an expert on the vision API, so she's going to help me to use some optical character recognition to figure that out. Yeah, Chris, sorry, just me. Please come back on Thursday. Oh, you're staging and unstaging in the div view. See, I like to do that. Git commit -- patch -p, I think, and then you get little chunks, and you can always say yes or no to individual chunks. All right. So is this right here? We have to look at every word, and for every word we have to go through the whole string for that match. Okay, yeah, git add that p, that's, yes. Yeah, add it is, yeah, that's super useful. Except sometimes Git refuses to split up a certain change and you can't press S on that one. Yeah, what I like in VS Code is these little thingies. So they're in my diff right now, and I can click on them, and then I could revert them by clicking on this. It's easier to see if it's red and green, so if I do this, the blue one means something changed, green means it's added, red would mean a line is deleted, and then I see the red and the blue, and I can just revert here if I didn't like that. Oh, hey, Anthony. Thanks for watching. Yeah, day 10 was the one where you had to wait for the stars to align, and then they would spell out these letters. Yeah, so that's on Thursday, a little later than today, I think like 4 p.m. Eastern time. Please come and watch us. Is VS Code easy on your machine in terms of memory? I think it is. Where's my memory? Because I'm streaming and I'm pretty sure that's using up most of the memory, but I don't have any problems with VS Code. Sometimes I do restart Chrome because there's too many Chrome helpers open, but I also have a new MacBook Pro, so I would be surprised if VS Code has any issues here. Where even is VS Code here? Yeah, but no, I don't have any issues with VS Code. Do you have problems? That's unfortunate, Anthony. I know. I mean, depending on what you do, some people can get away with having stuff on in the background. But yeah, it's pretty much the middle of the day. But it's also work for Kristen and me, so it makes sense to have it in the middle of the day. Yeah, Fino, that's what I did. I always kept the size of the range where the stars were, and once that was the smallest, I stopped moving them. But then instead of looking at these ladders, I think that would be great to check out some Vision API in the cloud and see if that can handle it for us. Okay. So we have all our tests passing. Are there any more test cases we should be adding here? Do we feel comfortable with these tests? I feel like it's not a lot of tests here. Let's use a longer word. Anybody have suggestions what I should be searching for? Obviously, I'm just like randomly typing stuff. Let's see what the result of this is. Okay, so this is the longest one. It's not equal to fail. How is this randomly a substring? That's so weird. Okay, but I guess chances are high that this is a substring if I just hammer in the keyboard. Ooh, well, good luck. Do you want any help before anything? I'm sure the recruiter is taking good care of you, but fingers crossed. That would be fun. I don't know if you want to share it here, but you know what team you're joining, or do you want to share how you're preparing for the interview besides solving Advent of Code? But also it's on Thursday. The stream is on Thursday. So while you wait anxiously for the recruiter to call back, you can watch our stream. Okay. Yeah, GCP is really cool. Well, I hope to hear soon about you joining us, maybe. And also feel free to ping me on Twitter and my DMs if you want any help before Tuesday. Definitely good luck. Kind of scary looking at the actual interviews, client friend. It depends what you mean by scary. They're definitely pretty exhausting because you do 4 or 5 of them, each 45 minutes long. And I mean, you have to be super focused and thinking. So that is always hard for 45 minutes. We try to be nice and friendly and have more of a discussion instead of like a grilling like you have in an exam. But obviously it's a stressful situation because you try to think on high power all day long. But yeah, also good luck. Also feel free to pop into my DMs on Twitter if you want any advice. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely different. One is like you sit at home, you send your stuff. The other one's very different. But you get a free lunch for the other one, so that's good. Okay, so Actually, I want to leave this test out for now, just in case, because the string is so long. So we were using a regex matcher here, but now it might be that you don't want to use the regex matcher, maybe for a performance reason, or maybe just because you want to see if there's other ways to solve it. And also using a regex seems kind of overkill when you're just trying to search for letters. So how should we do this? I want to refactor, I want to add new functions, but probably compare them to this old function. So I'm going to put this inside the function scope here and call it longest subsequence, having some problems with my editor, longest subsequence regex. Yep, shoot. All right, let's do it manually. That didn't work out. Okay. Okay, so we have this one here. And now I want a function that doesn't use a regex. So let's copy and paste this. Should just be longest subsequence. And then the isSubsequence function, I don't want to use the regex here. I think I still want to sort all the words. All right, bye for now. Oh yeah, lunch is super good. Breakfast is actually my best though. My favorite, yeah. Breakfast is my favorite food of the day. It's hard to be beat by any hotel breakfast or anything else. Okay, so if we don't want to use a regex, what's the thing we could do here? And also we need to use this function in the test here. So I think I just want to say function, and then I want to run the test with longest subsequence, longest subsequence regex, longest subsequence. Okay, so what's another way we could figure out if word is a subsequence of S if we don't want to use a regex? So we could go through for every character in Word, find it in S, note the index, and then for the next character, start off at that index searching in S, right? Beifinne. Okay. So for const char of Word, if Word that we could use contains, but I really need to find the index because we are not just looking whether the letters are contained in the actual word, we're looking whether they are a subsequence. So I'm using index of char at position index. And if index is equal to -1, then one of the letters was missing in the word, so I can return false. And otherwise, I need to update. No, I already did update the index, right? Yep. So if I found all of them, then return true. Okay. And I don't want to check Word for its characters. I want to check S for the characters. F is not a function. Yes, thanks, Anthony. I just caught that too. It shouldn't be Word, should be S that index of. And apparently in line 66, Yep, because here I forgot to include the function. Cool, that seems to work, ran without problems. Okay, so we're going through the whole string s, always searching for the character starting where we left off the other search. So again, we are sorting. Hello, new follower. So we are sorting the words here to start with the longest one, because then we can return as soon as we find one. And then we are going through the string with index of finding always the next character. So potentially we have to do this for every word, and we do it for the whole length of the subsequence, so n times w. Okay. Longest with index of. Okay, another way one might try to do that, which might sound a little more naively, and it also has a worse complexity, but I think it's a fun way to solve this, is if we have s, we can generate all the substrings, and then we have to just figure out which one of those is in the word list. So I want to do that also because that's a great way for showing off generators, as you'll see in a second. So const longest, and I'm calling this exponential because it has exponential complexity, because we're generating all the 2 to the n substrings, but I think it's a fun way to solve this as words. Is that the order I'm using? Yes, as words. Okay. And I will, does this test actually run? Should run, right? Oh no, it doesn't run. F is not a function. Okay, yep, that one runs. So let's take all of those. This is the same one as the first one. And use longest exponential on them as well. Okay, so let's implement this. How do we get all the subsets of S? Let sequences equal all of S. I think I want S like left and right, because my idea is I'm taking a left and a right string of S, and I always cut off the middle one, or I leave it in and then recursively find all the other subsets. So if I've consumed the whole left string, I'm just returning the set of the right string. And if not, then I want to take the left ones, which is all of, oh no, not left, with middle character is all of so I want to cut off always the rightmost character of left. So I need to do like a left.pop. So how do I get the last character from a string? I think it is left dot slice. Does that work? All right, s equals abc, s.slice is c. Oh, that didn't change s. How do I remove the last character in a string? S dot, can I pop? No, I cannot pop on string. Hi Finn, sorry about that. So the question we're starting with is, given a string s and an array of words, find the longest words that are substring of s. And we solved that using a regular expression match. So we took the string and we added a greedy pattern in between all the letters. And we also solved it using index of. So we checked every word and then stepped through the string character by character, always finding the next occurrence of it. Oh, substring. Yeah, substring sounds easy. Because trim just cuts off white spaces. Yes, substring. Okay. So slice gives me that part, but slice doesn't change the underlying string, which is what I want here. So yeah, and so well, but I did slice, and slice doesn't change s, which like on arrays you can do splice, which would change the underlying array. Oh, doesn't slice have two parameters? Okay. Let's get back to the code. So the character is left at slice. That works. That gives me the last one. And now if I do slice from 0 to the last one, oh, that just gives me a b. Okay, so let's do that. Oh, I guess there is no string function to draw letters from a string, because strings are these immutable things under the hood. So, okay, so this gives us the left one, and then I want the right one to be the character plus the right one. And then I want to do the same thing without the middle character. So again, I'm taking from the left one, I leave out that middle character, and now I don't take the middle character and just use right. And then I want to return the set of with middle character and without middle character. So that should give me all the subsets. Console is not a function. Indeed, it is not. Console.log is a function, though. Okay, and I'm getting a ton of subsets here, but I'm also running into an error. Oh yeah, because I'm always returning nothing here. Okay. Oh my god, has anyone done too much Perl? And would simply do, I'm not even sure I can read that. S matches. Oh, you're just matching anything to the end? I would simply do. Wait, and that match would give me all the subsets? Yeah, but slice, you can also just give it one parameter and then it goes to the end. So if you just give it a -1, that means you get the last character. Whereas if you go from 0 to -1, you get everything except the last character. Okay, so we have all the subsequences. I think we still need to sort the words. So words that sort, AB goes to b.length minus a.length. And now we have to find in these words the ones that are in all the subsequences and then return that word. It's words, so for every word of words, if all subsequences that contain is a function now, right? That contains that word, return word, otherwise return the empty string. Okay, contains is not a function. What am I thinking of? Includes? I did a terrible thing here. Yeah, I think client found it's includes. So includes is a somewhat more modern function. I think ES2 16, or was it 15? I think 16. That's like index of equals -1. But you just do includes and you get true or false. Yeah, this seems broken here. All right, so why is this broken? So this function, as the name suggests, has exponential complexity because we're creating, well, I could keep it running. Because we're creating all the subsequences of S. So that means if S has n letters, we're doing 2 to the n. Oh, yeah, I think there were web compatibility issues. Like some browser didn't support it. Yeah, that was sad. Okay, so it has been in Chrome since the longest time, and it's actually, doesn't it always say when it got added? Here, yeah, 2.15, so it is old, but it wasn't supported in all the browsers, so you can't use it. But it has a really nice syntax because it just includes yes, no, true, false. Whereas if you do index of, you always have to do equals -1, even if you don't care at all about at what position it is. Okay, so now I have CPU issues, but it's not because of Visual Studio Code, it's because I'm running this example here. Oh, and I don't need to log all the subsequences. But checking our list of all the subsequences or creating it just takes up too much memory, too much time, because how many letters do we have here? Like 20, 30, 40 maybe? Hey Gwenareth, yes, it means not equals -1. Instead of always writing that with index of, you can just do list dot includes a string. But then of course you can only do it if you don't have to support IE. So if you're on Node, if you know what browsers you're supporting. Okay, yeah, so JavaScript finally gave up. Because this short-looking string is too long for our function. How do I do a word count on this? Yeah, I don't have word count here. So this is 43 letters, and since we have exponential complexity, 2 raised to the 43rd, we have to compute 10 to the 12th many substrings here. So obviously that is not going to work. So even though, let's make sure that the other ones are correct. Okay, yeah, so the other ones work. So even though this is just 40 letters, it's too much for the function to handle this exponentially. So that's why we always say, oh, if something has exponential complexity, that is really, really bad, because even something with only 40 letters you can't run. And you can imagine these other algorithms that have length of the strings multiplied by the size of the word list. We could handle much, much longer examples here. Okay. Of course I have terabytes of RAM on here, but 2 to the 43rd is just too big of a number. No, I don't have terabytes of RAM. Yeah, and then even if I had, if you were just to add like 2 more letters here, 3 more letters, it's not 3 times as long. It is doubled, quadrupled. It's 8 times as long, so almost 10 times as long by just adding 3 x's here, or 8 times as big. Because even if I had the RAM, it would still be really, really slow. Okay, what's the shortest Perl code you could fill up your RAM? All right, so I showed you this exponential solution that has a recursive function in here, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit it, but only last week did I learn that you can use generators for recursive functions. And that's extremely useful if you don't have gigabytes of RAM, if you can't keep this whole list of all the 2 to the n solutions in memory. If you just want to do them one by one, you can actually use generators. And I saw this in a talk by my friend Anjana. Let's see. And if you don't know her talks, they are really, really great, and you should watch some of them. That was in Atlanta, at Angular Atlanta the other week, and I just loved her talk. It was so well explained. Yeah, go and watch these talks. They're really good. I misspelled her name. Sorry, Anjana. It's just one N. Yeah, so that's where I learned that you can use generators for recursive functions, and I want to show you that, even though this is a silly solution because we can't even work with middle long strings, but it's still fun to show that. So when you have a generator, so a function, to show that it's a generator function, you need a little asterisk here. Let's call it a generator. And then you can use yield in a generator function. Anjana Vakil. Yeah, so I think this is a good talk. Okay, so we have this generator function, and now when we do console.log, sorry, that is wrong. So gen, and then we do g.next. I think that's how we do it. Yeah, so when we print that out, then we get the value is 3, because the first time we're yielding it is 3, and gen is not done yet because there are more yields in here, so done is equal to false. So what's nice with a generator is you can use it in a for-off loop. So for const res of gen console.log result, and I want to say I'm in the loop. So we're printing 3, and then in the loop we're printing 3, 17, and oh, this is supposed to be 42, just to be nicer. Okay, I love the iteration protocols. One time I'm going to invest the energy and implement that reverse iterable string object. Oh, reverse order, okay. Ooh, yeah, because you cannot just take one Unicode. You always have to make sure that it's not a pair of another one. Oh, that sounds nasty. No, there should not a provision for cigarette breaks. I'm against smoking. Sorry about that. You can take your phone and take that outside with you, I guess, if you really don't want to miss anything. But then we also do so much talking in here, it should be fairly easy to catch up, even if you miss a little bit. Okay, so one thing I'm confused here, though, is we're getting to 3. Oh, because we always start over with gen here. If I say G here, so the one that I already initialized, yes, then we printed the G and then we start the loop at 17 because we already used up the 3 here. Well, that's kind of what a generator does. You need that little star here, and then the yield is like a return from the function, but the function remembers what it has already returns and then continues after that. And so if we do, this is before the first yield. Now 3 was handled already. Do we get here one more result to come? Okay, let's see what this gives us. Yeah, so when we first call console log g.next, that's when we're calling console log. This is before the first yield, and then we print the 3, and before the loop. And of course, this is expert debugging here, trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, yeah. So we call g.next, which gives us everything up to the first yield, and it returns 3, which is then what we're logging. Then we are before the loop, and now we are starting our loop. So now 3 was handled, and we're returning 17 in the loop here. Then we get to the next iteration of G, so now we are printing out one more result to come. So gen is not always starting at the top, going to the first yield. It's starting where it stopped the last time, so you can continue like this here. And then after the loop, do we get here, so we're printing this last line as well. Okay, so what does this have to do with recursion? Well, instead of having our recursive function, where is it, our exponential recursive function here, this all function that is generating all the strings, return a list of all the strings, it could always yield the next string, because then you can use a for loop down here. Okay, yeah, we could use a for loop down here over the all subsequences and get them one by one and compare them to the list of words. Yes, client friend, yield is like return and pause function execution. What about stand-up and stretch breaks? Yeah, I think I'll stream for, well, let's see how long this generator needs. It's kind of awkward to step away from the stream, and I don't have any music set up or anything. And I still have a little bit of tea, so I don't need a break yet. And you're always free to take breaks at any time. Okay. So I want to implement this all function as a generator that's yielding all the words. So here I need to change this because I'm not iterating over the words, but I'll do that in a second. Denied. Yeah, that's a German teacher in me coming through. It's like, no, you need to study now. No, sorry. Okay. So let me change this first with a for loop over all. Constant substring of all subsequences if, so we have a word that substrings equals an empty set, and then here I'm saying if the words include that particular substring, then I want to do substrings that push the, that's a lot of substring variables here. Okay, so we don't need to sort the words here. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm creating all the subsequences, and then I'm checking every substring or subsequence. And if the initial words contain that substring, then I'm pushing it to a list of substrings. And then at the end, I do substrings.sort AB goes to b.length minus a.length. And then I'm returning substring.length. If anything is in here, then I'm returning substrings of 0, and otherwise I just return the empty string. Okay, let's see if that still works. Yep. I think I want to get rid of this silliness here. Yep, okay, so all the tests still pass. I'm running this longest exponential function. Yes, I'm running it. Okay, and so now instead of generating this whole list of them, I want to use a generator function. So substrings of gen. And then we need to rewrite this generator function. So what's a generator function supposed to do? It is supposed to get a string left and a right string, just like this other function here. So I'm going to say function generator, delete this here. But now this generator function is not supposed to recursively generate all the substrings and return them as a list. Instead, I want to yield. So I want to say if the left string is empty, now I'm not returning a list. I'm just yielding whatever the right string is. I think I need to return after this because I don't want to do this recursive part here. And now I don't want to return these lists concatenated together. Instead here I want to yield and yield this. So I still have this recursive, it's still all happening recursively, except this one needs to be called gen. Generator of left and right. If the left one is the empty string, then I'm yielding the right one. Yes, client friend, before I returned the list that only contained the element right, and then I was concatenating all the lists. But here I just want to return single strings because here I do const substring of the generator. So the return values or the yielded values need to be strings rather than lists of strings. Yeah, because the generator gives me the results one by one. So it's one string at a time. Whereas the old function just gave me an array of all the strings, but I just want one string at a time. but I'm still using the same recursive function. I gave it a different name, and it's a generator function, but it has the same logic. If the left string is empty, then I yield the right one and I return, and otherwise I yield generator of the left with the middle character on the right, or the subsets where I'm leaving out that middle character. And just one tiny thing here, if I'm yielding a function, I need another star here. Okay, let's see if that works. Yep, that works. You didn't see anything because the only thing it prints out is when the tests are failing. But so this yield function here is a great way of implementing something recursive without having to get the whole set back and then work on that set. That works well if you can't handle the whole set in memory, for example. So we could try if this is working now. Doubt it though, because it is so long. Oh, let's see while I talk. And so the nice thing is you can now use the generators here in an iterative fashion. Like, for example, we are checking whether the substring is in this list of words. Well, now I'm wondering whether this would work, because it shouldn't. Should it run out of memory? Will the call stack be too big? I think this should actually just work. If we're very patient, we might not be that patient. No, it definitely does not change the time complexity, but if your constraint is the heap size and you don't mind having this run for a few hours, that might be an option. Yeah, and I mean, earlier this one was running out of space after a few seconds, or maybe it was minutes. So if you have something that needs to run for 10 minutes, I mean, I guess it's still terrible programming. Like, you should really find a different algorithm and not have something that takes 10 minutes. But more from a point of legibility of the code, that can be very nice. Or also, if you want to start rendering something here with the substrings, when you have this recursive function that only returns the whole list, you can only start printing the list when you have all the strings. When you're yielding them one by one, you could be yielding them all the time. So if you have to render something or show stuff, after this completes, you get your stretch break. I think we have our break while this completes, so I'll see you tomorrow. No, just kidding. This 2 to the 43rd might have been way too long, so this might not have been the greatest idea. But it is one way to deal with this, and what I like about this here is whoever is consuming the elements that gen returns, gen is a terrible name here, this should be something like all substrings. They don't need to know whether it's implemented with yield or whether it returns a whole list of anything. It's nice for the API, and you can do in the background whatever you want. So yeah, this is one option of using generators for recursive functions. You don't have the recursion visible, you don't have to get the whole set and then iterate through it. You can yield them one by one. And I think they're very much inspired by Python, so this is not something new to JavaScript. This has worked well in Python, so we've brought it to the language. So, client friend, what's this obsession with reverse iteration? Don't you read your strings in the right order? Why do you need to? Do you have any special projects or something where you do reverse iteration a lot? Okay, I'm trying to think where you would need it. Is it like video encoding or something? Is probably always forward, right? Okay, so this has been running for a while, but I don't think that Node is using up a ton of memory, because it shouldn't be using up a ton of memory. So if we have nothing else to do, maybe I do that later and I just have it run while I go grocery shopping or something and see what happens. Ah, okay, I had a use case where I needed both forward and reverse iteration on the same structure. Okay. Okay, so this is taking way too long, so it's not a viable solution, but it can run without running out of memory, so this might be helpful. Ooh, lazy loading DOM content depending on scrolling direction. Yeah, that sounds like one of those really, really hard problems. Okay. Were you able to solve it, or is this something you're still working on? Build a reverse iterable map for that. Okay, so you use the built-in map and added the reverse iterable to it, or a completely new data structure? And did you use generators? Yay! Do you want to post a link to it so we can see if we want to use it? Yeah, please share your link if you want to. Okay, so I stopped this generator nonsense here. That was just too long. So let's uncomment these 2 lines just to save a little bit of time later. And let's get back. Cool, thank you. Let's get back to more serious stuff. I'm not logged in on GitHub here. I wanted to start. Okay, I'll do that after the stream. Cool. Congrats on publishing your first module. Oh, we need to improve these download stats. Okay, so it does not extend the built-in map. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so I turned off the generator nonsense, but I thought it was fun to show that off, how whenever you have something recursive, you could be solving it with generators. And that also means you don't have to collect all the outputs in a list. You can just yield them one by one as you need them. And whoever is consuming all these outputs can get them from the generator and doesn't need to worry about how the generator is implemented. Because this here, I mean, maybe not with this syntax, but if you say const all substrings or subsequences is equal to this, and you don't even see inside here that it is coming from a generator. Okay. So the non-exponential algorithm that we had always took the number of characters in a substring times the list of words, which could be pretty slow, and we can actually improve that. So here we were stepping through the list, always finding the index for the characters, and of course the indices were always the same independent of what word we're looking them up for, but we were searching for them over and over all the time. So instead of doing that, we could pre-process our long word s and then work with that pre-processing instead of doing the index of all the time. So, oops, copy this. I don't need to see this or this exponential stuff, which is really slow anyways. Let's delete these comments here too. Okay, so longest subsequence pre-processed. Is that how you spell process? I think so. I had someone create GitHub issues for something I wrote 10 years ago. Well, isn't that fun if you get to fix something and stuff you wrote 10 years ago? Okay. Pre-processed. Okay. So tests are here. Yeah, tell us in 10 years how much fun it is to fix your map implementation that has iterables in both directions. Okay, so what do we want to do here? We want a const pre-process is a function that takes that long string and it needs to pre-process it for us. I don't think we need a subsequence. Maybe we do. So for every word, we want to check if it is a subsequence. Yeah, probably we need that, but let's see. So what is pre-processing doing? It needs some kind of map because we want to store in the map for every character where we found it. Let m equal a map. Is it new map? It's a new map. Oh, that's good that nothing was broken. Okay, so, and then for every character in the string, oh, I guess I want to save the indices, so I can't use a for loop like that. So let I 0, I equal s.length, I plus plus, and character is the ith character. If m doesn't have the character, then let's set character to an empty array. And then we want to that set character to m.get and this new index. And we're returning the map. Okay, so we initialize it for every character with the empty array, and then we're setting the character to the previous list and the new index. Okay, so we pre-process s, sorting the words, let m equal pre-process of s. So we want to check if something is a subsequence using the map. Okay, so instead of doing index here all the time, how do we do that? So we take the character word and then let indices equals m.get of character. If not m that has that character, then we can return false right away. Hi Conrad. I don't really like the function name preprocess because it doesn't really tell what it is doing. It definitely does not tell us anything at all, but I figured I'd go with the theme of terrible function names because I have function names like longest subsequence preprocessed. But yeah, that's not really a good excuse why I have terrible function names. Get index by character. Okay. Build index map. Yeah, so get index by character would tell me, oh, I give this function a character and I get an index back, whereas I have to give it a string and I'm getting a whole list of indices by characters back. Yeah, I think build index map is a little better. What do you think, Conrad? Build index map. Okay, yeah, but thanks for pointing out that my function names really can use improvement. Oh, that's a good idea. The pattern foos by bar. I think any function which returns something should tell in the name that it returns something. So oh yeah, the rename symbol works well. Sometimes I'm lazy and I just do the dash shift D, no, command D. But the problem is because the function was called preprocessed, it would have also renamed preprocessed in here, so I didn't want that. I'm actually wondering if I need the verb build in this function name, or if we could just say index map. Is build kind of redundant? Because any function, I mean, I guess it could be a non-pure function and it could be indexing the map while in there without returning it. Build indices by character. Yeah, then you know what the form of the map is. I have never used that pattern, so I don't know if I want to start it now. Singenta, what's the difference between an operation and a function? Why would build be an operation and not the build function? Yeah, Command D or Control D is very useful. Okay, let me try build indices by character and see how I like it as we keep going. So this function builds a map of indices by character. Every time I work with maps, I have this huge problem of not knowing what is what in the map. So yeah, maybe that pattern will help me. Operation is like saying move forward, but isn't a function also, couldn't a function also be moving forward or move something forward? I'm not sure I understand the distinction. A function is something, oh, so you say a function is always something that returns stuff, probably even a pure function that doesn't have side effects, whereas an operation is only side effects and doesn't return anything. Okay, that could be a distinction, except in everything in JavaScript is functions. They don't really have operations, so it might be confusing. And I guess whenever possible, I try to use functions with small number of side effects. So this one here would be a function. Okay. So anyways, we're now looking at every character of our word and we want to figure out if it is in S. Ooh, nice. I don't need S in here. I need the word and the map. And we can call this map, no, let's keep calling it. Okay, the general pattern is values by key. Yeah, this sounds very useful because what I usually do is I usually make a comment here where I'm like character indices. But naming it, and so when I call this function, of course, I don't see that comment right away. So probably a good idea to have that foos by bar or foo by bar. Okay, I'll try that out and see how I like it. Okay, so for every letter in the word, if that letter never showed up when we pre-processed our string, So when we pre-processed a string and that character wasn't in there, we know right away that word is in a subsequence, so we can return false. And now we get the list of indices here. And now I cannot run index of anymore because this is subsequence doesn't even have s. It just has the map of characters by indices, indices by character. But I still want to find the index. So I have a list of indices and I need to find all those that are the first one that's bigger than index. Yeah, the is subsequence definitely implies yes or no, will the true or false will be the return. Okay. But a lot of times I don't like it when functions are called get, foo, get, bar. I always feel the get is extra. I could just foo or bar it because it means obviously I'm getting the foo and the bar. Yeah, I wouldn't say get some. Well, what do you call it? Add or some? What do you call it? Get some or build some? Yeah, I would just call it sum and I would expect it to return the sum. But naming stuff is always hard. Luckily, these are short problems, so even if we were to name everything foobar, we could probably handle it. Okay, so we have a list of indices and we need to find the first one that is bigger than the last index. So let's go through the indices. Nope. We don't need to know which one it is. We need to know for const I of I dx. If I is bigger than the index we have, then we can set the index equal to I and we can break. Nope, wrong button. And if the index, so we're starting with -1 and then we're going through here and we're trying to find the index. No, there's never one-off errors. That doesn't happen, right? What I want to do is if, oh, you know what, I'm just going to extract this into a function so I can return. Okay. And while I type this, you can figure out what it should be called. So find next index takes an index and a list of indices. And for every index, if I is bigger than the index, then I want to return this index. And if it didn't find it, I'm returning -1. index is equal to find next index, which could need a better name, I guess. And idx, and if the index is -1, so we didn't find it for this character, we can return false, and if we always found it, we return true. Okay. Yeah, no, one indices are weird. Maybe it's the Stockholm syndrome, but I think everything needs to start with 0. Okay, couldn't I just use math maximum? I want a bigger one, but then I would always get the rightmost one. So I don't think that works. Say the letter A appears at 1, at 3, at 5, and at 7. And the last letter that we used was at position 4. So index is equal to 4. Then math maximum in this case would give me 7, right? That would be a really nice shortcut, but I don't think it works. I basically want the first index that is bigger than 4, but not too big, not like the biggest one, because then it would be all the way at the end. Yeah, that would be much nicer than my function, because I don't think if anybody asks me in 10 years to come back and fix this or tag this or do anything with it, I would really hate myself. But I think you have to do this in a kind of complicated way. So here I'm doing find next index, and I'm going through them one by one until I find the one that's bigger, and then I'm returning that one, otherwise I return -1. Okay, so do we like find next index? Should it be next index? Should it be find index? Find next bigger index? Next bigger index? Find next. How about find next valid index? Matching index? No, bigger is maybe good. Okay. Please go find me. Alexa, please go find me the next index that I should care about. Just call it index or next. Okay. Yeah, if you use a function name like this in a Google interview, by the time you've called this function once in handwriting, your time is probably up, so I would not recommend it. One thing that's good in interviews is to just go ahead and call this next, and then if you feel like you're confusing yourself, do something like this, finds next bigger index. I don't know, I think it's very polite, right? You're not like, dude, give me bigger index now. You're like, please go find me. If you could, if you don't mind. Yeah, so but one thing I would advise for interviews is use very short function names, because usually like indices or maps, you always have to use them 2 or 3 times. Like I have a m.has and m.get, and in the other function I had even more because I had an m.set, m.get in one row. So if you use a function name here like indices by character and you write that out, you're just like losing so much time in an interview. So use really short names in an interview and help yourself with maybe adding a comment to one of them. So you're not confusing yourself in the interview, but you're saving all this time when you're writing it. Writing very polite code. It might feel a little bit like mocking if you like overdo it. Okay, so we're getting the next index. And what is this function doing? It has a next function, it has the preprocess function that's building the map, it has a function that finds the next index, it has a is subsequence that doesn't rely on the string but on this map that we generated beforehand. Okay, I'll be using Go, but people seem to be comfortable with single character variable names and short function names. They're still very polite people here. One of them is in the chat, so I have to say this. Right, Andy? Okay, so pre-processing, we're sorting the words, we're checking if every word, starting with the biggest one, if it is a subsequence, and if subsequence only takes a word and the map, then we return a word. Okay, ready? Oh, bummer. Okay, that didn't work. Capitalize the please in your function name. Okay, so is subsequence seems to not work so well. We're going through every word here. Hey, Master Beatrix. Yeah, so we're solving a simple coding problem. Given a string and an array of words, find the longest words that are substring of S. And we've been trying a few approaches, just making sure that the exponential approach is really, really slow. Then we played a little bit around with generators, and right now we are doing an approach where we're first pre-processing the string S, and we build a map of indices by character. And then we're checking every word, whether it's a substring, using that pre-processed list. But whatever I coded out doesn't work, so we have to put in some debug information, and I'm not going to be lazy. I will just use the debugger instead of clustering everything. So I think the first breakpoint is this one here. Okay, what does M look like? M is a map with 5 entries. Did we maybe pre-process the wrong word? Where is S? A, B, P, L, E. Okay, so A shows up. Just once at position 0. B shows up at position 1. That looks good. And then the P is showing up 3 times, 2, 3, 4. Yes, that looks pretty good. I like my M. Now we are sorting the words. This is over, yep. So, where did the words go? Words are sorted now by length. All right. And now we're checking, is subsequence the word in M? So is subsequence, kangaroo shouldn't match. Where did the words go? I know, they disappeared while I collapsed too many things here. Okay. I know, like it feels so much more natural to just put console logs everywhere. And that's what I did during advent of code, and then you're deleting all the console logs, and then sometimes you're not careful when you're deleting an actual line of code because you're deleting so much. So my goal for today was don't console log, except in the generator where it's hard to debug because the generator messes it up, but to actually use a debugger to step through. Okay, so kangaroo. Word is kangaroo. Why does this keep closing? And now I'm in here. I have a map. I have a kangaroo. I wish I had a kangaroo. Index is 1. Now for every character, if the map doesn't have the character, yes, K should not be in the map. Okay, so we're returning false. And the next word, now we're checking apple, and apple should really be in there. So let's see. Oh wow, Anthony, you used a real logger file. See, that's like what I hate the most, like logging where you have to give it the different levels. That's like even worse than just console logs or using a debugger. All right, but so now we have Apple. What's our initial word? Oh, I lost the initial word. Okay, see, maybe a debugger isn't that great, but we have Apple in our initial word. Let's go through this character by character. So we start with A. Yep, we start with A. Index is -1. A really should be in our map. Yep, A is in here. So we should not fall into this. Okay, sounds good. And the indices should just be an array of 0 in it. Hello, indices? Where are you? Oh, here they are. Yep, it's just 0 in it. And I'm finding the next index indices. Okay. Is 0 greater than -1? I would hope so. Yep, and we're returning 1. Okay. Index is not equal. Wait. Why is index equal to -1? I just said index is equal. Oh, okay, I see it. Anybody else sees it? Ooh, I found a bug without console logging. I'm so proud of myself. All right, so I'm always returning the index, and the index I'm passing in is -1, and then I'm setting index to the index that I'm returning, but I'm returning what I passed in, so obviously I'm always staying at -1. What I wanted to do was return the new index, but of course this problem comes down to poor naming, because I have an index, I have a list of indices, and I have an I. What was I expecting? All right, so this works. Processing works, but it's ugly. I would say it's ugly. Okay. Anybody have ideas what to call these things? So I have an index, which is the last letter's position, and I have a list of new letters, and then the one that I'm returning. Should I call this last position, maybe? Would that help? Needle haystack. I'm searching for index and indices. Yes, next, we had a bunch of different names, and in the end I took this short one, but I think I want to go back to something a tad better, which was find next bigger index. You wrote first item that is bigger. Yeah, so do you like find next bigger index, or find next index, find first item that is bigger? But that is exactly what this function is doing. And it is taking a needle in a haystack. I mean, I guess we are searching, but we're not searching for the needle. We're searching for the bigger needle. No, I can use words as long as I want, because I have an editor with a rename function, and I'm not committed to a 45-minute interview on the whiteboard. So, wait, every prototype finds the exact element. It doesn't give me the next one. I need so I have a list of indices. For example, if I come in with 3 and 1, 2, 4, 5. No, that's a terrible example. Let's do 7. I have 1, 5, 11, 14. Then I would like to get back 11. because 5 is too small, but I don't want the maximum of this list. I don't want too big of results here. I want the next one that's bigger. Oh, index finds. Oh, of course, find can use a function. Does find always give me the first occurrence? The value of the first element that satisfies, oh my god, that is so much bigger. Okay. Good call. So I want to return indices that find, and it's taking an element and it should return element bigger than that index that I'm passing in. And what do I do with the -1? Oh, just after the whole thing. What is find return if it doesn't find it? Undefined. I mean, I guess we could just leave it with undefined, but let's refactor step by step. No, I broke it. E is bigger, or can I need an, no, it needs to be bigger than that index. Oh, I'm sorry about the microphone. You know what, I should have clipped it on, that would probably help. Let me know if that makes it a bit better. Why would I need a special case for 0 now? All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm doing 0 is falsy, index that find. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because if it finds it and it's 0, I don't want to do that. So let's just not do -1. Oh, but then I can't be bigger. I was going to say if it is equal to undefined. Now I can start with -1, and if it didn't find it, it'll return undefined. Let's see. Yes, okay, that works. And now, since this is really short, do you want to inline this back in here? You're finding the index where E is bigger than the index. I think that's pretty readable. Or I could call it element is larger than index. And we don't even need to find a function name for this because now it's inlined. Well, who suggested that? That was a great suggestion. Conrad, yeah, thank you very much. That's why I'm streaming, because by myself I don't see that, and if it's just these fun things, I don't get a code review, so this is super helpful. So sorry that we brainstormed for a good name for so long, and I'm just like, nah, who needs names, right? Okay. I'm wondering if we can inline some more things here. Should we inline that? So we're getting the characters and we're finding the element that's bigger than the index. If we didn't find one, because then it would be undefined, which is now pretty straightforward to read. Find finds it, or it's undefined. Then we return false. And I'm thinking if I can inline this to here, but I can't because I have to keep updating index. And having the strict check here for undefined helps us to not worry about 0. Okay, so you're saying I should just do a map get instead of has and get. I know this looks terrible because it's twice as much work. So you would change the order here, do a get, then check for undefined, and then do find. Okay, let's do that. Except then I can't call find on it right away. So what indexes equals get if not, if that is undefined, return false. And then this is indices dot find. How do we like this? Yeah, except depending on what you work with, it's sometimes much easier to just check for equals equals instead of checking for empty string or null or undefined. Like, but usually if you have to check against all of those, your data comes in from something that was sloppy. So if ideally everything should just be strict checks. Okay, so using, instead of checking for undefined, I should do this and then here search on the empty array. That is much shorter. I wonder though if it's a lot harder to read, because now I have to understand that if it wasn't there, well, but I guess if it wasn't there, then a search on it will return false or the result will be undefined. So, yep, that's good. Oh, how's this? For every character, yeah, so the has and then getting and then using is the most readable, but also has the same complexity as getting, which can be an expensive, well, sort of expensive lookup and a map. So it makes perfect sense to not has and then get, but only do one of them. Okay, no, it's so short now, but we can't read it. All right. Okay, so this is correct. I think we could get away with leaving it like this. Oh, I remember why I wanted it in an extra function. So if you have a really long string, the list of indices for one character, oh my god, I really have to turn off that following thing. Hello, thanks whoever followed. I can see who it is because I don't see my stream, but it's really loud. I will turn that off. Middle ground coming from a Perl dev. So what I was saying is this list of indices here might be really long. So searching for the index in linear form is actually slow. So I would like to, in a real world project, I would move this out into a function and then use a binary find because I know that the data in there is sorted, so I can use a binary find. Every prototype find cannot do that. I would use a binary find to find the next biggest element in a faster fashion than that linear find here. But yeah, no problem to move this out into a find function if we need. So we have our function. It has a weird name because we have multiple versions here. We build indices by character, which returns a map. And we have a isSubsequence function, which takes a word and only the map. And then, yep, that looks good. Ooh, and I'm streaming longer than I thought I would. I thought we would be done by noon. So use array.prototype find in preprocessed search function. Okay. So what we're still doing is we're doing one word at a time, checking against this map that we got from pre-processing whether this word is a subsequence. But we could actually be checking all the words at once. And we would need to keep track. We would be sorting our words by starting letter. And then as we process the starting letter, now that we focus on the second letter of some of the words that we've processed, we would be sorting those words by the second letter together with the other words by the first letter and so on. But honestly, I've been streaming for more than 2 hours, and even though I don't smoke, I do need a break, and I have a few other things going on today. So I think I'll leave it at that. Oh, one thing we could do that's sort of fast. We could get around this find totally if we make the assumption that we just have the... If we make the assumption that S is not too long, and also that our alphabet isn't too big, because we have too many entries in M, we can't do that. But what we could do here, instead of finding, we could change the pre-processing a little bit, and instead of just sparsely putting in the indices, we could make this a more dense array that always has the length of S, and then the next index is just at the index that you are searching for. Let me show you what I mean. Where was this example? No, I deleted it. Okay, so here we were using something like, say it's at position 1 and 4. And instead of storing 1 and 4, we would store for 0 and 1, it's at 1. And then for everything else, for 2, 3, and 4, it's at position 4. And then anything bigger, it would be undefined or -1. Does that make sense? So if you have the letter at position 1 and your index is 0 or 1, then you want to return 1. If your index is 2, 3, or 4, you return 4. And if your index is 5, 6, or 7, you return -1 or undefined. And then down here, the index is for every character of word is index of index, and if that is undefined, we return false. We can't start with -1, we have to start with 0. Am I breaking everything now? So I'm starting with 0. Okay. So we have to change this function here. We're looking for the one that's bigger, but we really... So other example, if it only shows up at 0, then the dense one would be 0 and then -1, so undefined here. I guess I could just leave them out because everything else is undefined. Okay. So we need to change this thing here. we want the length here. What do we want the last number? I think we want the length. So we want const n equals I. Okay. So that seems like it moves the time complexity from runtime to build time and increases memory complexity. How to judge whether the trade-off is worthwhile? Yes, definitely. So by build time, you mean the time to build the pre-processing. So it's totally worth increasing that time if, let's see here. So our algorithm is slow if we're testing a lot of words. If the word is very long, so testing, if the word is really long, yeah, benchmarking of course is the right thing, but if we talk about this, about the concepts and more abstract here, if the word is really long and your alphabet is very small, then finding the next biggest index, this find function here that I already deleted, but this find function here will have long indices. So say your word is 1,000,000 letters long, but your alphabet is only 26 letters. Then on average, your array of indices is still like 50,000 letters long. It's 1,000,000 divided by 26. So a linear or binary search through that 50,000 array will always take a lot of time. Whereas if you can just do accesses by the index right away, of course that is faster and helpful. And now whether you can do the trade-off between memory and time, that of course depends on your business case. But so if your string is long and your alphabet is small, then this pre-processing will be faster. And whether you're willing to give up more memory space for better performance, that's a different question. But that cannot be answered by circumstances of, that cannot be answered by what the input looks like. That's just a business case question. Yeah. Okay, what was I saying here? N is I minus that length, and I believe it's +1 because here I have 2 in here. No, sorry, I have 2 in here, and then I'm doing 4 minus 2. Yeah, for 1 I want 0 plus 1, so this is the +1 here. What if I have 0, 4, 5? Then I want 0, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5. So this 5 here is that length. Yeah, so this is const n. I'm going to call this previous result because I already had it. And then here I want to use previous, and I want to say array of n dot fill with i's. Is that the right thing? Array of 7 filled with 3's. Yes, 1, 2, 3, yep, okay. So here I'm building this dense array. Anybody have an idea of what to call this instead of previous? So we're building indices by character. Oh, and instead of the has, we can fill with eyes. Yes. Yes, okay. Googly. Oh no, do they not work here? that's a bummer. That's a big letdown. That's like the first time ever Visual Studio Code is letting me down there. So it's still doing pretty well, but not being able to put googly eyes in here without making changes to what it supports. Oh, no, here they are. Never mind. Yeah, let's fill it with lights. Fill with googly eyes. Okay, yeah, I didn't see the googly eyes with all the Google eyeing. Okay. All right, let's clean this. No, let's make sure this works. And then let's clean it up. And no, it did not work. Okay. So we took the previous ones and we set n to the current index minus the length we had before plus 1. And then we set this to previous, and now that this is an array, I need the spread operator here. And now it was working. Okay, we're trying to make the code better, not worse, right? And this is one eye, and only here we're filling it with eyes. So I don't know if we should rename it. I think we should not. Okay, but this is working. So let's do what you suggested here. Let's not do has and get. Let's do get or this. Yep, that still works. I do like to use character here. It's more verbose, but I think it's worth it here because otherwise you just have too many s of i's. And any idea what we could call previous instead of previous? So we're filling a map with an array and we're growing this array. Is there a good natural name? Hey Elliot, thanks for joining. You're just catching the very end of this. We're being silly and we're filling arrays with eyes, where eyes are googly eyes. Okay, yeah, but so this one has a sparse array, a dense array. So here we can just get the index instead of doing a linear search. Might fill the first part with brains, all right. Okay, cool, yeah, so this one, the pre-processing is long, but then when we do find the subsequences after we already built the indices by character, this one here now just has the length of words. So previously the complexity of going through one word was worst case complexity of binary searching the length of the string, like the bigger string. Hey, thanks for the other follow. Welcome. I can't read who you are, but thanks for joining. So if the string is really long, but the words in the list of words that we're looking for are all very small, it might be worth doing all this pre-processing and using a little bit more space for this dense array here. Because then the search here, the linear search here, is really long. Yes, names must be emojis. That will look really cute, but will we be able to understand it? With dense list of indices. Okay, which function do you want to rename to emojis? Like, how would you call longest subsequence with an emoji? Oops. Like, what is a subsequence here? Oh, I guess we could have more than one emoji. So I know a good name. Give me a second. So I'm renaming this function that's using exponential complexity. There it is. Okay. Uh-oh, it looks like at least the editor doesn't like it. Nope, can't use all emojis for a function. Why does it not like my turtle? That's sad. All right, what else could we name it? Is that because turtle is like a weird emoji? Like, okay. Move that stuff out of the way. Okay, everything's still running. Okay, I'm confused. I really thought I could use emojis. In Node.js. Nope. Yeah, not quite all Unicode code is valid. Well, how do I know what my Unicode starts with? I know. Oh, sorry, Conrad. The Nightbird is timing you out for posting links. Sorry. Okay, Anthony C's function names might have to start with something. Kleinfurt, I also thought this would just work, so I'm very disappointed. Why is my console weird? There it is. All right, console. Well, this looks very broken. This plus 32. Nope, that didn't work. What's a very simple emoji? This plus 32. Okay, I'm very sad now. Nope. Oh. Okay. Nope, that is disappointing. Other people seem to be doing it. Oh, maybe CSS. Oh, I need it as a string. Duh. No, if it is a string, but if I'm using it as a variable? That's sad. Why can I not use it as a variable? That is BS. Well, that was a big letdown. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Let's take this. That was index, right? All right, let an object be an empty object, and then object of eyes equals eyes. And then we could call this yeah, but that would be index and not eyes. We don't have any eyes left. Help. Okay, we have some eyes here. Okay, object of eyes is 0. Object of eyes less than length. Object of eyes goes bigger. And then let's fill the array with object of eyes. Just doesn't sound as good as filling it with eyes. Birdbox programming challenge. So I haven't watched that yet. All I've seen is the memes. Should I watch it? Is it worth watching? I forgot one eye. Oh my god, that works. And it's so ugly. I'm sorry to say, but it's so ugly. Okay, can we take this one step further? What should this be? Object of what's good for character? What is good for a character? Which emoji is good for character? This one maybe? No, that's not good for character. Oh, we do have the brains. I like. Copyright C for character. I was more thinking in like a metaphorical sense, like having good character. Get the poop emoji. It's actually a lot of emojis, and they look different on macOS. Oops. Oh no, I didn't want that, I think. Something else. It's down here. Oh yeah, let's use that, right? Okay. Okay, there you have it. Completely legible code. Well, I guess we could also rename these things here just in case. Oh yeah, I know. I know what this one is. This is, wait for it. This one. Okay. You're welcome. Why exactly am I doing it? Because it's beautiful. I mean, look at this. I'm not a big fan that this still is an N. Okay, one more. What should N be? Taking suggestions. What should N be? For the thieves, you can post a link if you want. I let the mod allow the link. I would like to read that explanation later. Okay, what do we want for N? Yeah, I mean, the O isn't too bad here. It would look a lot better though. I really thought you could use it. Okay, thanks for the link. I had to copy and paste this. Sorry about the timeout. Of course, Matthias has an article, and his articles are so well written. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so no suggestions for what emoji we could use here. I still need one. It was the lowercase n, the number of how many I needed to fill. Yeah, and they're always so correct. Like other people write details articles, and if you know what they're talking about, you're like, no, but like Matthias' articles are spot on. Okay. Well, if anybody has watched the New York weather forecast, I think this one here is fitting. Okay. I really hope this still works. Whew, okay. Oh yeah, you can definitely use emojis and get messages. Which I sometimes find a little bit distracting. Like some repos have a habit of putting flames or something for fixes in there, so it's in there a lot. I don't like that, to be honest, if I actually have to go back for a real bug and search for something. Yeah, he knows his Unicode. Okay, great. So now that the code is beautiful, let's push it to GitHub. I hope you had some fun. I learned a ton of stuff on like good tips on where I can shorten the code. Oh, rockets and really big commits. But couldn't you just tag that anyways? Also, you should never have really big... Well, a construction sign shouldn't be merged into the branch. And a really big commit shouldn't be really big, but split up. So I feel like you shouldn't have rockets or construction signs. But then I put brains and eyes in my array, so who am I? What am I to say? All right, so I'm streaming again next Saturday. I'm not sure what topic yet, so some interview-related topic. If there's something specific you would like to see, feel free to suggest it. Yeah, this makes code so much shorter if you just use emojis instead of variable names. Okay. Oh, yeah. Of course, there's always a difference between something you work on and it's a side project or something 20 other people have to work on after you've long moved on to a different team and they have to solve serious bugs with customers not being happy and a code base that's big and confusing, in which case I personally don't find it helpful if there's a bunch of stuff screaming at me from the code. And like emojis in a Git log are very attention grabbing, so that would probably not help me. Can you talk about types, tests, and linting in JavaScript? Okay. Well, so that would more be like an opinion piece, and I'm not really sure how I would show that with coding. I'm looking more at like the algorithm whiteboard interview kind of questions, like complexity of sorting. I did a little bit of testing here, but of course not with a test framework because I just wanted it in one file. And yeah, the stream is automatically recorded and it's available for 2 weeks on Twitch, and then I always export it to YouTube, so it's available there until I decide to delete it. Yeah. So I wonder, yeah, I'll think of something. You can also find me on Twitter if you have other ideas. But C# Fritz today already suggested I should start with the unit test. So that was a great suggestion. Thanks for that, keeping me a bit more on track. We can try to do more of that the next time, think more about which boundary cases to test. All right. So was that? Thanks for joining. I see you next Saturday, I hope. And then I have a special bonus stream on Thursday with my coworker, Kristen. She's awesome. And we will look at ML for the Vision API. So we'll do some cool stuff there. Okay. Thanks for the feedback, Kleinfreund. Bye, Meister Matrix. Bye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and Monday if you have that off like I do. All right. Bye-bye. Oh, so I have this cool phone app to stop the stream, except now it's not working. All right, bye everybody.